Hi everyone, 你好吗? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, great, Duncan. I think you can speak now.
Okay. So Mark, um, can you hear me right now?
Hey, I can hear you, Duncan, but I got no
Okay.
sound on you. Let me test my sound. Can you guys hear Duncan?
No sound, no sound from
Yes,
Mark.
I can hear you.
Okay, okay, okay. So Mele, I'll just speak Mandarin at first, so it should be all right.
Sure.
所以说我们今天呢是举办这个第一期的算是线上的这个 meetup，然后呢，今天我邀请到的是和我住在不太远的一个地方，他叫 Mark，然后他是在网络，我现在这里的网络不太好，所以说我把视频关上了。他是住在澳大利亚 Perth，然后是和我离得不太远，所以说，那天和他聊了一下，他在做自己的一些小生意，而且他会说一部分很基础的一些中文，所以说呢，但是今天呢，由于呃他这个讲的很多东西都是很专业的，所以说大部分情况下他会用英文来给大家讲。呃，讲的时候呢，如果是大家有什么不懂的地方，其实可以自己留下来。之后我们讲的差不多之后呢，会讲完了，会让大家再提问一下。然后之后呢，我们会经常举办这种的 meetup，然后深圳的大部分情况呢，是我们线上和线下同时进行。呃，别的的别的事情呢，就是说我们今天先听 Mark 今天讲完他的 presentation，就是他的演讲了。然后演讲完了之后呢，大家有什么问题可以再问一下。嗯，就是现在是第一期了，大家就可以看一下，有什么问题的话，肯定不会呃走的那么顺利，但是第一期呢，大家就是都会呃，就是算积攒经验嘛，之后会越来越那个流畅一点。别的就没有什么说的了。OK，Mark，it's your turn。
Okay, great. 非常好. Thank you so much for the introduction. Good stuff. Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Möller, and I've been using WordPress for the last 10 years. I've started as a website developer, and I've built my first WordPress website in 2015, and then I quickly started with SEO. These days, I've got my own SEO agency called Ecom Experts, where we're helping people with their software businesses. We're also helping local businesses, as well as Chinese manufacturing businesses who want to promote themselves on Google and rank in America. Now, I want to first make sure that you guys all have the translation. So I will share my screen. 你们可以看一看这个，你们有没有这个? Has everybody got the translation link open here? So you guys can see the Chinese translation. And if you want, you can perhaps put this something like this on your screen so you can see still the text here. Maybe you can give me a number 1 in the chat if you guys have that open on your screen. Perhaps put in the chat number 1, and Duncan, you can monitor that if everybody
OK
has got this link.
所以说，大家刚才 Mark 在那个聊天记录里面发了一个 link，然后如果是大家用电脑端的话，其实是可以看到这个 link。然后你打开这个 link 之后呢，它会有及时的翻译，但是呢，如果是用手机就没办法了。OK，Mark。
Okay, sounds good. All right, perfect. I would also like to know, before we get started, so that I can modify my talk a little bit to you guys so that it's as helpful as possible. I would like to know who of you are professional WordPress developers. So do you do this for your job? You can put number 1 in the chat if you are a professional WordPress developer. Cool. Only Duncan, only one person. So the rest of you guys, are you business owners? If you're business owners, put number 2 in the chat, please. Okay. Developers don't use PHP. Okay, cool. Couple of business owners here. Some people not that professional with WordPress. Gotcha. Okay, it seems more business owners. Then I will not talk too much about super advanced programming because I don't want to lose the business owners in the crowd who may not be that much into programming and custom development. But I will mention a few things because there are some interesting trends right now when it comes to building your own software. I am developing WordPress locally with something called WordPress Studio. This is a really nice platform to basically develop WordPress on your local host. And it's not that complicated. You don't need to set up a whole server. So this is what it looks like. WordPress Studio, it's completely for free and you can download it for Windows or Mac. So if you're building a website yourself, this is right now the absolute best platform. And you can have different WordPress websites directly on your local host without putting it on the internet. So again, probably more for the developers out there, but even if you're a business owner and you want to try some things, for example, using some programming tools, this can be a good option. Now, let me jump into what I've prepared for today. And let me know if you prefer the light mode or the dark mode. Since it's evening, maybe you guys prefer this view. Also for dark mode, put 1 in the chat and light mode number 2. Then I will keep it throughout in that mode. What I want to cover today are the most common problems that I see with WordPress when it comes to SEO, but also generally user experience, because most of us have websites in order to promote our business or maybe promote an event or other things. Okay, people prefer dark mode, maybe a little bit split. The thing with WordPress is it's got so many different custom modules and plugins you can install. And oftentimes that slows down the loading speed. So I wanted to cover in the first few minutes of this talk, the loading speed. I've built a course myself on WordPress loading speed, and you can get access to that course as well. It's not officially launched yet, so you guys have the opportunity here to take a quick screenshot of these login details over here. And I can also put that into the actual WordPress. I will send you the logins later on when it comes to WeChat. But this is basically a course on how to optimize your WordPress website for loading speed. And so I'm sharing that with you guys so you can have a look and learn from that. Now, the most common problem with WordPress loading speed are a couple of things. So oftentimes we can say that the server is a big problem. So having a fast server is one of the most important things when it comes to loading speed, as well as the DNS. So DNS means the connection from somebody's mobile phone, for example. So let's say somebody's mobile phone needs to connect to your server, and this connection is happening via DNS in the middle. And then if you have a slow DNS provider, for example, if you would use a Chinese DNS provider, but your target audience is in the USA, then even if your server is fast, the DNS can still be a problem. And Cloudflare is a good DNS provider. And I will teach you now how to troubleshoot what the problem is with loading speed and how to optimize that. And you're more than welcome to ask any questions in the chat along the way. So you don't need to wait till the end. I'm happy to answer questions as we go. So the first step that I would recommend is to use GTmetrix. It's a platform where you can troubleshoot your loading speed, and it gives you a more comprehensive report than the public tools that are out there. And so when you're using GTmetrix, I recommend the paid account. It starts from $5 per month. And you can click here to choose the target location where you want to test your website from. So this is really important. Make sure you're testing the website from where your customers are, because it doesn't help if your customer is in the USA and your website is hosted, let's say, somewhere in China or India, It doesn't help if your website is fast in India, but slow in the US. So test it from exactly where you want to know the loading speed of your website for. You can also have advanced settings like what happens if a user is on a 4G connection, let's say a mobile phone connection, how fast would my website be on that? So you can modify things here, but for the most part, you can just leave the settings as is and you click Analyze. Then you get a report like this, which shows you the loading speed. And you can see here that this website is doing not good. It's got a loading speed of 48%. And the main problem here is the largest content paint. That is the main part of the website being loaded until the user can see it. And they call that LCP. And Google says this should be about 2.5, and this one is over 5. So it's really slow. And we will analyze together why this is happening now. So we can see here in the Performance tab exactly what's going on. This website has one good thing. It's not having a layout shift, which is where, let's say you're on a mobile phone, and you've got certain pieces that are moving. For example, if you're on a phone and all of a sudden, this piece here would move a lot down, for example, that would be a CLS issue, a shifting issue, but this website does not have any shifting problems. So that's good. But I mainly pay attention to this section down here, where we can see, for example, the time to first byte, TTFB, is only 88 milliseconds. This is really good. And this is something you need to absolutely test on your own site. So TTFB tester. Let me also provide that. Yep, this is the one that I like to use, key CDN. I will add that to the notes and I will share all of these notes with you guys as well. So TTFB tester. This one here is really good. Let me grab the website that we want to analyze. And this is testing how long it takes to make a connection to your server from around the world. And we can see overall, actually, my website here is doing very poor because it takes a whole second to connect to the server. This is very slow. When we compare this to other much faster websites, let's say we go for apple.com. Apple has an amazing time to first byte because they've actually integrated themselves into the website providers themselves. So we can see here my website, even from Australia, loading in 1 second, but this is not the whole website loaded. This is just making that first connection. So connecting the user's mobile phone to my website server takes almost 1 second. So we're losing a bunch of time here. Let's see how quick Apple is. So we can see 20 milliseconds. This is, again, just the first connection piece. And this is mainly about who you're using as your DNS provider, Cloudflare, for example, and where your website server is located. So that is what the TTFB is. And if your TTFB is bad, you can do as much optimization as you want in WordPress, but you will never get to a really good score because you're losing a whole second when you're comparing it to what Apple has. So a TTFB around 100 is pretty good. 200, 300 is still acceptable, but anything above that is really too much. And you can check these big websites, what they have for TTFB, to get an idea what your website should have as well. And then again, check exactly those locations where you want to rank in Google for TTFB. Perfect. So again, this is mainly impacted by your own server location and also by your DNS service. You can buy an add-on on Cloudflare to get, to get Argo. This is speeding up the time to first byte. So this Argo add-on can be a good idea if you're having like a really slow loading website. You can get this Argo add-on on Cloudflare, and that will speed up the TTFB a little bit. There's also another method where you can basically host your whole website on the edge. The edge means that it's not loaded from your own server, but it's loaded from Cloudways servers. So we can call this edge hosting, and not using your own server, but Cloudways. And then, it's a Cloudflare. And on Cloudflare, it will then load the data from the nearest location of the user. So loads from nearest location of the user. So even if your server is, let's say in China, if you're hosting it on the edge and the user comes from New York, it would be loaded from New York because it's actually on Cloudflare's servers and distributed from there. And it's possible to achieve that with Cloudways. It's a bit confusing that they are called very similar. So Cloudways is the hosting platform and Cloudflare is the DNS provider. They are both my go-to choices for when I'm doing web hosting, and I've been using them for over 5 years. And I would highly recommend them. Okay, full disclosure, I'm also a sponsored, basically team member or partner of Cloudways. So they are sponsoring my YouTube videos. So I might be a little bit biased, but I've tried other hosting services like WP Engine, and they were just a lot slower when compared to Cloudways. That's why I'm sticking with them. Okay, cool. So we figured out the first part here is actually not like something that right now we're going to target or optimize further. But instead, we're going to talk about the next thing in our hosting stack. That is PHP. So make sure that you have a PHP version of 8.1 or higher. This has also a big impact on speed because PHP is the programming language that WordPress uses. And if you're on the old versions of PHP, especially any PHP version with 7x, on the one hand, it's probably a security issue and a lot of your plugins will stop working, but it also has a big impact on loading speed. So I've moved some WordPress websites from a 7x PHP version to the 8x version, and we had a speed improvement of about 1 second. So you can save quite a bit of loading speed, especially in e-commerce if you're running a WooCommerce store. But any website these days should really be on PHP 8. And you can check that inside of WordPress by going to plugins, and there is something called server info. So there are some plugins that can display the server info on your site. I think it's this one or this one, server IP. I definitely like this one as well, the server IP and memory usage. I'm not sure if this one shows the PHP version. So we're gonna just install both here. All right, so server info, let's also activate that. And then usually these show just on the dashboard, you should be able to see your PHP version. Awesome, so we can see that here. Seems to be coming from the server info script, and we're using PHP version 8.3. So that's a quick way how you can double check that you've got the correct PHP version to make sure your website is loading fast. Awesome. Then next, we want to combine CSS files, and let's have a look how you can analyze if it's a problem on your side. I like to use mainly the waterfall here. This is the best way to really analyze. Can I get some quick feedback here, Duncan? You think the dark mode is still good here? Everybody happy with that? Or shall we try light mode here for this? Might be a bit easier to read in light mode. Yep. Can you talk now, Duncan?
Okay, actually, I'm all right with the color, but doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Sounds good. No problems. Cool. So what we're looking at here is the loading waterfall. That means all of the different things on your website that need to be loaded are displayed here. So your website consists of some HTML elements. They're not that many. So this website here is making a total of 150 requests, and only 5 of those requests are HTML. So we can tell optimizing the HTML, not that big of a deal overall. Most of the time we have issues with the other 3. It's either JavaScript that's the problem, CSS, or your images. And we will walk through each one of them now to get an idea of how you can improve the loading speed based on each one of these 3. So let's have a look at the JavaScript files. First of all, you want to check how many do you have. And wow, this is a lot. So we have 70 JavaScript files here. which tells us this is a very good way how we should improve our site. And they are also pretty big. So we can see here, if they are not compressed, they could be up to 19 megabytes big. So this is really a large file when it comes to JavaScript. And so this is something we need to try to optimize. So we have here, let's see, what do we have for JavaScript? So we have a lot of stuff from Elementor being loaded. And then we've got, you can hover over this and you can see where it comes from. So this is a React version, which is a programming language that is distributing some JavaScript. Here it's a form that has some JavaScript. And the reason why you want to be first aware of what is creating all that JavaScript is because you might be able to disable some plugins and then save it from even loading in the front end. Maybe some plugins you don't need, or on certain pages you don't need plugins to load. In that case, you could disable them. We can also order this by domain, so we can see where this comes from. And we can see a lot of this is coming from Google Tag Manager. And there are ways to delay Google Tag Manager so that it only loads after the loading event is finished. We can see right now it's loading relatively quickly, relatively early in the chain here, but we don't want it to load that early because it's slowing our website down. And the rest is coming from our own site. And now with JavaScript, you basically have a couple of options. So you can JavaScript, you can either combine multiple files so that right now we have 70 files. We can try to combine it into, let's say, 5 files so that each file becomes bigger, but less requests. And this strategy used to be really good because when it comes to the protocols that web browsers use, there is HTTP2, and HTTP2 basically doesn't have the restriction, no restriction on simultaneous files. So that means HTTP2 can make multiple requests at once. So it could request 70 files all at once. But on older versions where it was HTTP1, there is a restriction, does have restriction on loading multiple files at once. And that's why before it would have been a really good idea to reduce 70 files into 5 larger files. I have found in reality it still works. So the quick answer is still works because HTTP2 also is not perfect. Yes, it can request maybe 30 files at once, but because we have so many different JavaScript files, it's still a good idea to combine them. But there is a risk because you can break the website as well. Because when you're combining that, there was potentially an order in which the JavaScript files need to be loaded. And sometimes I find that combining them is just breaking the website, and you need to then find which of the scripts is creating that problem. And at that point, you probably need to work with a web developer to try to fix it. But I will show you a few examples of how you can optimize the website. So this is the combining files option. The other option is to minimize the JavaScript. Minimize. And what that means is that we are compressing the code. So we're removing empty spaces, removing spaces, comments, basically unneeded code is what we're going to do to remove. And both of these work for JavaScript and CSS as well, which are your style scripts or styling. And that minimization also works pretty well. And then you can also consider delaying some scripts, which is another way to do it. And when it comes to delaying in WordPress, you have 2 methods. You can either delay things by using async. That means you're trying to load it after everything else loads, like a automatic way. Everything else loads and it's non-blocking, so it will not block anything else. Or you can delay things just with a timer or second delay to say, hey, load this JavaScript only after very specific time, like 3 seconds. And when you're, for example, looking at delaying your Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics scripts, you can try both options and see which one works better for you on your site. Okay, perfect. So we've had a little bit of a chat around JavaScript. Let's do this practically to see how we can speed that up. So let's see if we have some recommendations here. So my plugin optimization recommendations would be either Breeze. If you're on Cloudways already, you can use Breeze as a plugin. Or you can use Auto Optimize, which is also a plugin. In this case, let's try Auto Optimize, as this is not a Cloudways website. Right now, I'm working on my own computer. There we can install that. Due to, while we're waiting on this, I'm not sure why it's taking so long here. Okay, here we go. So we can see this plugin does provide JavaScript and CSS optimization. And it's going to try to bundle or combine that CSS and JavaScript. And I'll show you the best settings that I would recommend to try to start out with. So directly on the first page, we can see optimized JavaScript code, yes. Do not aggregate, but defer. This is a good idea to basically try to minify and delay the JavaScript. And inline should also be fine. If you notice that certain scripts are breaking, you can say exclude these from optimization. So this is where it's helpful when we looked at this. So you actually know which scripts are loading. And ideally, you would also understand what they relate to. So this script here, we can tell because it's in the plugins and Elementor folder that it has something to do with loading Elementor. And so when you have a problem with Elementor sections, maybe you can try to exclude this script. Let's say something breaks on your website, then you could put that into the excluded section there. Okay, let me get back to the settings here. And then the same for CSS. I would leave it on these settings here, where it's trying to optimize CSS code. You can try to aggregate it, which will mean that this option only minifies it. I probably wouldn't recommend the HTML. I found that many websites break if we also turn this on, but the first two options should be fine to try and use to optimize the HTML and the CSS. And for the HTML, I would leave it on this default setting. All of the other options I won't go through here now, but at least now you've got a rough idea of what you can do to optimize the HTML and CSS. For images, I usually use a different setting or different plugin, but this tool also can provide you WEBP image formats, which is developed by Google. So this is the best image format to use while we are here. So you can also turn that on if you don't have any other image optimization plugin there. But I mainly use this tool just for the JS, CSS, and HTML. Cool. So by now you should have like a decent understanding of how to read this. Another good thing to check here is CSS. This is your styling. We have 42 CSS scripts being loaded. And we can see here where these styling scripts are coming from. And we can also check which one is taking the longest. So this script here is taking a whole second to load, which is our style.css. But it's actually really small. It's not that big. It's just 14 kilobytes. So the question is, why is this one taking so long? So we could try to prioritize this in the loading queue, for example, or we can even put it on a CDN, which is the content delivery network, which helps you to load up the speed as well to improve the speed. So we can draw quickly how a CDN works as we're now getting to images. So the CDN, content delivery network, would help you to load your website faster by achieving the following things. So you can put your images on one domain name, images could be on images.cdn.com, for example. And then your main website is on a different page. And so that's helpful because the CDN will, let's say here, the HTML is from your main site. And then images can come from the CDN. So let's color that differently. And then maybe you'll also get the JavaScript. You can put JavaScript also on a CDN, even though I don't really like it because I haven't found it to be beneficial. But basically, when a user is trying to load your website, let's put the user over here. And the JavaScript is being provided by the CDN as well. And now the user is requesting your website and your own web server is sending the HTML and the JavaScript is being sent by the CDN and also the images are being sent by the CDN as well. So these are coming from different websites and that's beneficial because we have just talked about that if one server needs to send 200 files, it would take a lot longer. So in this case, this server is sending 70 files, for example. Oops, let's make this bigger. Okay, can't get bigger. 70 files here, and then we've got another 80 files from here and another 50 files from here. So they're all coming from different destinations, and we're not slowed down by one web server. That's the main takeaway here and why CDNs work. Plus the CDN is closer to the user. If the user is in, let's say in New York, then it will be delivered also from New York, but your website may be hosted somewhere completely else. It could be in Canada, for example. So your HTML is being sent from Canada, which would take a little bit of time to get to New York, but the CDN is always at the closest location of the user. And that's why the CDN is faster than sending everything from your main site. So having a good CDN is also a good idea. Cloudflare does have a decent CDN network and you can use, so for my solution, if I really need to speed up a website, I would use Cloudways and then I get the Enterprise Cloudflare add-on for Enterprise. And then I turn on the Edge caching, which will mean that basically all of your website is hosted by Cloudflare in the end on their servers, and they always try to find the closest connection to the user. The Enterprise add-on, it sounds scary, but I believe it's just $3 and then plus some usage. So it's a really good deal, but it's only available if you're on Cloudways because they've got a deal with Cloudflare. So that's my hosting stack if I need really fast websites, and it's working really well. Okay, cool. So far, any questions on loading speed or any problems that you guys have run into when you're optimizing websites for loading speed? Nimen Yomeo Venti. Let's see, chat, you guys are still here? Does higher always PHP version always better? So no, higher PHP version is not always better. So the question was, is a higher PHP version always better? And then can we store video on Cloudways? Oh, Cloudflare, right? Lightspeed cache can set JS compression. What's the difference between the two plugins? Yeah, very similar. So Lightspeed versus Auto Optimize. So I'm just taking a note of all questions for now. What's better? Okay, it's actually nice. I can see it here now. Elementor is slow no matter what you do. Yep, kind of agreed. What's the key to choosing PHP version? Okay, cool. So we've got a couple of good questions here on PHP. I will start with the PHP question, and then we'll work through the other ones. So no, not every PHP version is better. I would actually recommend it in that way that you start with I think right now PHP 8.2 should be pretty stable. PHP 8.2 would be my go-to. Choose this. Probably 8.3 is also fine, but you don't need to go into like the beta testing versions. Basically avoid beta testing. And the reason why PHP is higher is not always better, because not every update has a speed improvement. Not every update has speed improvement. So you could ask, I also don't know it from my head, we could say PHP, let's do some deep research, PHP 8.2 to 8.3, any speed improvements they made. And AI will just do web research to find out in the changelog of 8.2 to 8.3, have they improved the speed or not? And we'll get that answer in a second. But yeah, for now, no, not every PHP version is a speed upgrade. Sometimes they're doing security fixes or they're enabling other things for developers to do, and it's not always about speed. But definitely from 7x to 8x is a big improvement. And then the key to choosing PHP is choose a version that is well tested and most common. You don't want avoid the very newest, because maybe your plugins are not updated for that yet. Plugins can't handle it and may have bugs. Themes could also have problems, but plugins are probably harder to even troubleshoot and fix. So yeah, I would avoid the very newest. So if they bring out 8.4 tomorrow, avoid switching immediately to 8.4, because probably your plugins and everything is not ready. So let's say avoid 8.4 if it comes out tomorrow, because it's got too big of a risk that you will have bugs in your WordPress website if you upgrade immediately. But you want to stay on a version that has good security and is pretty recent. So either 8.2 or 8.3. Let's see. So yes, 8.3 is faster than 8.2, but it's not huge, is what they are saying. Moving from, okay, it looks like they were able to make 30% higher requests. So it's like more requests can be made. It doesn't mean it's necessarily 38% faster. It's just requesting more things. Mostly from engine tweaks. So yeah, it looks like 8.3 right now is a little bit faster than 8.2, and it should be stable as well. When did 8.3 get released? Let's see. Okay, it's a long time ago. Definitely, in that case, you can absolutely upgrade to PHP 8.3, unless ChatGPT is completely hallucinating. Let's check the web as well. When did PHP 8.3? Yeah, it's really November 2023. So in that case, completely fine to move to 8.3 as well. So let's update that to go to 8.3. Okay, cool. Then can we store video on Cloudflare? I'm not 100% sure on that one. I do think they do have a video hosting service. I saw an app just on AppSumo today, in case you're also into lifetime deals. I think there was one for video hosting. Oh yeah, Gumlet. So if you need video hosting, have a look into that one to see if any of these lifetime deals can help you out. So I was looking at this and it didn't look too bad. How many minutes? Oh yeah, so 500 gigabyte you can get on this tool for video hosting. But let's also see Cloudflare video hosting. Generally, I recommend not to host it on your WordPress website. Video streaming made easy. Look, I think there is a way, but it may be more for developers. So if you're a business owner, maybe this is not the best way for you to host video. So I would say if you're a business owner, probably go with this option, Gumlet Video, because this is a service just made for video. It's going to be easy to upload. But if you're a developer, then yes, it does look like Cloudflare does offer video streaming services. I think you can also use Bunny CDN for video streaming if you need another alternative as well. Bunny Stream, better way to deliver video. Yeah, so this is again one for developers. I think these are the cheapest when it comes to video streaming. If you really need to do a lot of video, then this would probably be the best option. If you're a developer, if you're a business owner, probably this one. Okay, let me see the messages. Where were they? Oh. Cool. All right, so a lot of questions about the plugins. So what's the difference basically between Rocket Loader and Auto Optimize? They're all doing the same thing and they're all copying each other because WordPress programming code is also public. And so there's basically no big difference here for this question. What's the difference between Lightspeed, Rocket Loader, and all these other plugins? It's just the one that you prefer, really, and that that fits your budget. I believe Lightspeed is pretty much for free, and then Auto Optimize is also pretty much for free. Rocket Loader does cost money, so then there's another issue. Basically, if you have Cloudflare, because Cloudflare also has speed settings, do you need another tool? So Cloudflare Pro has speed settings and can also deliver JavaScript. So I usually still combine, for example, Cloudflare and other plugins, but it's probably possible to just have a stack where you're only using Cloudflare for the delivery as well. I wouldn't say any of these plugins are better than another because they have all the same functions to compress JavaScript, combine into multiple files, delay and defer certain things. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much up to you which one you choose. And I've used all of them before. I've got one developer, he really likes the Rocket, is it WP Rocket? I think Rocket Loader is Cloudflare's solution for JavaScript. But yeah, there's some plugin very famous with for optimization. I think it's WP Rocket, but essentially all the same. Elementor is slow always. Yeah, I think Elementor is slow, and also when it comes to SEO, it has another problem, which is a really deep document object. So deep, confusing DOM. So that means there's just so many HTML elements. When you look at the website, let me see which one is our. Well, this one here, the DOM is basically referring to this, the way that the whole HTML is built up. And Elementor is just putting so many unnecessary elements in there. Kind of similar to here, you can see there's a billion classes in here. And it just creates a really big load of HTML, which then search engines need to decipher and cut down to just read the text. So yeah, this is one thing that makes Elementor also bad. Apart from just the speed, it's also just too much stuff in the HTML, basically. Too much stuff inside HTML. Where did our chat go? Can you guys type something really quick? I want to see if I can get the chat back. Here we go. Okay, cool. How about this plugin? All right, let's help you check out this plugin real quick before we move on. I haven't used this one so far. 200,000 users, updated 3 months ago. Honestly, it probably is fine. Embed optimizer, responsive images, image placeholders. What's the purpose? Primary purpose, allow testing of performance features. Ah, So this seems to be more for testing new features that later come to WordPress. I wouldn't install that on a live website, let's say your own business website. If it's a kind of new feature testing plugin, only install that on a staging server or a testing server on your local host, because new feature stuff could break your current site. Okay, let me make sure I covered everything here. We had video in Cloudflare, PHP version. Thanks for your questions, by the way, guys. What does this one say? Are these questions that I need to translate or already answered, Duncan? Okay, cool. For media, like images, is it better for doing image CDN? Yeah, in image CDN is a really good idea. I like EWW. Let me put this here. Image CDN. Yes, really good idea. I think EWW is probably pretty affordable. That was also a deal on AppSumo. Maybe they've come back now. Let's see. Oh no, they're still sold out. But that's a pretty good image CDN that I like to use. Let's have a quick look how cheap or expensive they are. $8 per month for unlimited images and 50 gigabyte bandwidth. I think that's probably pretty good. $8 per month. With image CDNs, you just can't really get them free. There's one decent plugin, but this is nice to use, good user experience, Optimol. But I think this one gets expensive. Like it's free up to 1,000 users. They used to have a free plan up to like 1,000 users. I don't know if they still do that, but you can see this one is a lot more expensive, $25 versus EWW $8. Really good plugin, probably better user experience than EWW, but it's also like 3 times as expensive. So yeah, I would go with EWW. It's also pretty easy to set up, and I've had good experiences with that one. And yeah, they also provide, okay, they do have a free option even, unlimited images, compressing images, auto-scale images, and to convert WebP, even on the free plan, okay. Yeah, so that one is pretty decent. So this is cool. They are compressing images for free directly on your site without third-party API service. So if you're on a budget and you want to do like get WP for free, give that a try. Okay, cool. Then replacement, WordPress business, common performance. Oh, WordPress business. What's WordPress business? I'm not familiar with that. I've never dealt with that one before. WordPress business. Oh, it's like you're not fully in control of the site. You're sort of hosting it on WordPress's own servers or something. Ah, okay. Interesting. I had no ideas people use that these days. Yeah, that would be annoying if you can't install those plugins. Okay, we had one more question on any replacement for Elementor. Honestly, there are a lot of good page builders out there. I like to use GeneratePress. It's pretty quick. But yeah, GeneratePress is pretty quick, but has a bit of a learning curve. So that is probably what I would recommend. Probably, so this is the replacement for Elementor, but it's also very different from Elementor. That's kind of why it's fast, because it's really not as bloated, doesn't have as good of a design. So that's something to consider there. But you can also just research other Gutenberg-based themes. So list Gutenberg-based theme builders that are fast. So Gutenberg blocks specifically. There's a couple of other ones that I can't think of right now, but we'll get the answer in a second for you. Does using a custom template instead of default Gutenberg template in Bricks Builder affect SEO keyword performance? Default Gutenberg template in Bricks Builder. So I know of Bricks Builder, but I don't think it will impact keyword performance, because as long as the document object model is clean, so you're not bloating it with 5,000 lines, then it should be fine. So I will also show you how you can see it in GTmetrix. I believe it's under structure here. So here it's got a report about the DOM size. This one here is what I'm referring to. So when you're trying to think about, is any theme good, you can try to load a website that has been built with that theme and then look at the DOM size and see how many different elements there are. So this website has 1,100 elements, which is kind of on the high side. Ideally would be maybe 800, 900 maximum. But there's also websites built with Elementor that have 3,000, 4,000 elements. And that means Google needs to pass so many different things just to read your text. So it gets expensive for Google to analyze your website. So definitely something to check, because this is the hardest to fix. If a page builder creates really big DOM, then you need to rebuild from scratch, basically, because there's no way with that page builder to pretty much get a smaller DOM size. So that's why it's one of those things that's probably the most important to check for when you're choosing a page builder. How many elements are put into the, you can also say into the programming code, same thing as the DOM essentially. And that is something that you want to consider when it comes to SEO. Other things can still be changed later, but the DOM can't really be changed because it's what is used to build the site. So again, this is the DOM that we're looking at over here. And each one of these would count as one element. So here we can see one element, two elements. Each div is another element. And Elementor is really good at creating so many. Let's see here if I can show what Elementor is doing. This site is also built with Elementor. So yeah, we can see here how many different divs and sections there are without actually showing any text. That's probably a good comparison. Normally you would expect here there's some kind of text there, but there's not. It's just Elementor doing its thing and background overlays, another container, more containers, more containers, more containers. And then Google needs to figure out, hang on, where's the text? Ah, okay, here's the text. Interesting. But first Elementor creates 20 different elements and div classes and sections, and then it has a little bit of text. Back in the day when people used to code by hand, they would basically just code this section without all of the different like wrappers and elements, and you can see how many classes are being used. That's why it's said that Elementor is so slow, because in order to do just like a small form here, just contact us, it's creating all of this other junk around it, which makes Elementor very slow and bulky. But we all knew that. It's just about kind of understanding how to get around it and how to choose some other options. Yeah, that's right. There's so many containers. Let's have a quick look if somebody else is looking for other Elementor alternatives. What we have found here. Let me refresh this. Okay, we somehow lost that. Blocks builders. Cadence was one that I have seen people use quite a lot these days. I can't say if it's good or not, but I know there's a lot of freelancers out there. If you're looking on Upwork or Fiverr, Cadence Blocks is one that is known for its performance and has also decent design options. So I would probably look at that because, it's a Gutenberg blocks builder. So it means it won't be as bulky as Elementor. And Cadence Blocks or Generate Blocks is also from Generate Press. So those two are probably where I would go to. Maybe the other ones work fine, but these seem to be the most popular right now, the Cadence Blocks and Generate Blocks. Okay. Work, Bricks Builder. Yeah, I haven't used Bricks myself, but I've seen YouTube videos about it. It seems to be a decent tool and a good page builder overall. All right, cool. Let's get back into the next topics because loading speed was just supposed to be one of the topics. Next really important topic is mobile responsiveness. Before I jump in there, I just want to show you inside of Search Console where you can see your loading speed to see if it's a problem or not. So if you are inside of Search Console, you will want to come to the left side over here and you click on Core Web Vitals. And then Google tells you which URLs are slow. So I have here 43 URLs that need improvement. And if we click on Open Report, I think this one I need to make small. Awesome. Now we've opened up the report. And below here, it tells us why these URLs are slow. So I have that LCP issue. Largest content paint is slower than 2 seconds. And 43 URLs are affected. And I can click this and I can see here that these URLs have loading speed of 3.8 seconds. So this is how you know what exactly Google is seeing and how to fix it. And yeah, this is basically what I would recommend. This is data that comes from real users. So this is even more important than checking any other website. So checking here is what Google sees that real users have. Yeah. Awesome. Then when it comes to mobile responsiveness and user friendliness, I always like to use Firefox to preview what websites look like. So we are looking at a couple of dentist websites here. And let's look at the top sections of the website to see if it's good or not. So we have here Tend with the green website. We can see that the login button is very awkward because it's over 2 lines. The Book Now button is over 2 lines, also pretty awkward. And we also have something here that says schedule a visit, which is kind of a double call to action against the Book Now, because Book Now is supposedly also about scheduling a visit. So it's also confusing for users. What happens if I click schedule a visit versus Book Now? So these are things that you want to consider. On the one hand, the layout on mobile phones, but also the messaging. And you could definitely just take a screenshot. These days, AI is really good at giving you feedback. And what I would do is I would create a new project. Probably Claude is pretty good at visual analysis. So create a new project and you say UX consultant. Then you put a prompt here and you say, do something more elaborate than I will do. I will use voice typing. You are a UX consultant that will help me improve the user experience of my dentist websites. I will provide you screenshots from mobile phone and desktop screens, and you will think about the user journey deeply, as well as the different user personas that come to my website, such as a patient who has an emergency and his tooth is hurting, or a patient who wants to schedule a regular checkup and clean, or a patient who needs a bigger procedure and wants to see our About Us page to read the credentials of our doctors. Make sure every person has a good user experience and advise me how I can improve it. So you can see, I need to turn the voice typing off. Okay, perfect. Use voice typing. So on Windows, you can use voice typing by hitting the Win icon plus H. And it's a really good way to quickly get some text into large language models, because with a large language model, the more input tokens you provide, so basically talking to AI, which is an LLM, same thing as ChatGPT, more input tokens equals better output, basically better answers from AI. That's why I've given, quite a long text here, and that's why I like to speak. Hopefully, I'm not sure how it works with Chinese, but hopefully you can speak in Chinese and then later ask to translate it. Because when you're speaking, you can speak at maybe a speed of 200 words per minute. When you're typing, you're probably more like, if you're slow, you're at 30 words per minute. And if you're fast, you're maybe maximum 90 words per minute. So you can see the difference between like speaking with words, speaking voice, 200 words per minute, and typing 30 words per minute. So you're really being slowed down by not using your voice. So as much as possible when you're talking with AI, try to use your voice and give it as much context as possible. So I've explained here that I've got a dentist website and I want some feedback. And you can do the same with Claude as well. With Google's model, we can actually compare. Let's compare Google's model here to Claude. So both have a new model brought out. On Google, we can also do projects, but for now, I'll just copy this in. And then we will provide the AI with the screenshots from the website, and then we will get feedback. So this is a way for you to basically get feedback on the user experience on your website. So let's copy this in over here. And then we're also going to copy that in over here. And it should be, it's already using Google's newest model, Gemini 3. So let's submit that and hope we get an answer. Cool, so we got some analysis back. It is saying, well, it wants to see the desktop, but right now it says what's good, that we're accepting new patients. We've got a book now button that is very visible, but there are some issues. Let's say if we have an emergency patient, the user needs immediate help, but he just sees a generic booking flow. So maybe for emergency patients, we could offer some same-day appointments so people can immediately come to our clinic if they have tooth pain right now. And people who have an emergency, they also want to see a phone number. So the AI is telling this very correctly. I know the dental industry quite well, and it's correct that when you're having tooth pain, you don't want to use an online form, you want to call someone immediately. But this doesn't seem to be possible on this website here. We can't easily see a phone call button. So you can see that creating basically an AI can be a very nice way to improve your user experience, because it's quite a good advisor and it's told us some correct things. That this is $1 million brand. Like these guys here, they have like offices everywhere and they're doing this wrong essentially. They could have like an AI assistant who takes the phone call and then basically book in more patients by also offering phone calls. Now, let's see what Gemini has provided here. So the emergency patient who comes to the website, he is in panic. He doesn't want to read. He wants to speak to a human immediately. He sees a book now button and schedule visit. And it says, I don't want to wait for a confirmation email if I have a broken tooth. So same suggestion, add a call button for those emergency patients. But the bigger picture is here two things. Yes, you can use AI to help you with the user experience on your website. That works great. but also think about the different user personas. So if you're a dentist, think about who are the different people who come to my website and how does my website serve those different user personas. Let's say it could be a single mom who doesn't have much money. How do you make sure that this person feels comfortable and not afraid to book in because she doesn't want to be hit with a huge bill because she's worried, that she can't pay that bill later on. So all of those things need to be considered when you're trying to do business and making sure that everybody who's in your target audience can find on your website what they need. And you can analyze that by telling AI who your target audience is. I'm interested to hear from you guys. What AI are you using right now? Are you using ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude the most? Feel free to put it into the chat. Keen to hear from you. Oh, you.com. Yeah, I heard about them. Okay, then we'll go through a couple of other websites just for a laugh. So if your website looks anything like that, then you've got some big problems because the hierarchy here is a big mess. We can see there are so many different things that the user can do. There should be one clear primary action. So you can ask the AI also to give you some good suggestions on what good user experience should look like. Basically, a primary action should look like this. This is one of the websites that I used to work on. They've changed the design since then a bit, but now I've made it too big. But you can see here that we've got one primary action, really nice and big, a book now button, but also a phone call button. And even when it should be, even when I scroll down, it should still be visible. And on mobile phones, you can even do a thing where you're showing these buttons where the person's thumb is. So somebody's finger would be somewhere here, right? When you're holding your phone, your finger is somewhere here. Naturally, it's not up here. And especially your thumb would be here. So you can put like a phone icon here, or you could put a constant phone icon down here as well, because people have their thumb down here and they can then click the book now button, which would be always visible. So that would be a good idea to implement. Here's another example. Good that they have a book appointment button, but bad that this disappears completely. So as I scroll down, now I can't book an appointment anymore, right? So try to think about what are the buttons that always need to be visible for the user to make it easy to go ahead and do business with you. So it would be better if this could still be visible there. All right, cool. Any questions on the user experience? And have you guys tried anything to improve the user experience on your site? Bring the chat back here. Claude, yep. Gemini and ChatGPT. Cursor, awesome. Right, the tool I use to check mobile version, it is a Firefox browser. And then, so basically Firefox, and then I hit Control plus M. Let me try that. Control Shift M. Control plus Shift plus M, and that brings up the mobile phone version. Chrome also has that, but I don't know the shortcut in Chrome to get to that immediately because it just brings up the whole developer console in Chrome, and then I need to click here for the resizing. So you can hit F12 on Chrome browser as well, and then you can see the mobile phone preview, and you can set different devices in here as well, like a laptop or whatever you want to preview. But for some reason, I kind of like having a separate browser for this, because here I also have no cache. So whenever you're previewing a site, what I do in here, I put basically privacy. Got some privacy settings here to not store cookies. And so this browser never has any cookies, and therefore it's really good to troubleshoot any website issues. Yep, so Claude, yeah, Claude is a bit expensive. Cursor. Yeah, cool. So this was the little bit of a section about loading speed and user experience. I think now I want to talk to you a little bit about the future. Rather than talk about more SEO problems, let's talk about the future of WordPress and probably software in general. Because the future is going to look very different than what we have right now. Right now, people purchase expensive plugins to do kind of simple things. Like if you think about a contact form, right? Contact form is a pretty simple thing, but there's still some contact forms that I'm paying for that cost 600 USD per month, per year, which is sort of crazy. And so I think the future of software will look like that we can build our own software. So in the future, we can build our own software, including WordPress plugins. So I wanted to show you guys how you can do that. For example, if you have a Google Gemini account, so Google Gemini gives you access to anti-gravity code editor, and I'll show you what that looks like and what it can do. So this is here anti-gravity, and don't be afraid. Yes, it's a bit of programming code, but you're really just talking in the chat on the right-hand side here. Let me make this bigger. And what I've done here is I have created a template for a local plumber website. Right now, this is just HTML, but this was completely created by AI, and I think that's pretty crazy. So I'll give you guys a second to actually look at how decent the design is. This was the first time that I've asked AI to build this. I didn't ask for any revisions. So we've got a nice contact form here, really cool large text and fonts. We do have the phone number and the book online button. We've got a trust section here with award-winning service, on-time guarantee. We've got different services here. Some more text, very clean design, review stars, and so on. And all of that was built with Gemini 3 inside of anti-gravity. Google has purchased this tool for $2 billion. And it was not good when it came out, but now they've done a couple of updates, and it was quite successful. And so because the future of software will be that we can build our own software, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on the things that you can do and talk about the workflow that I use when I build my own software. So this was maybe not so much for the business owners, but then again, I think everybody can use these programming tools. And yeah, would love to invite you to basically see how these can help your business. Let me make this a bit smaller. So good programming tools to build your own plugins, for example, to solve a problem on WordPress, is cursor.sh. And it's basically a code editor, as well as anti-gravity. If you already have a Gemini Pro account, that's Google's AI, then you can use anti-gravity because you get some free credits. So I have not paid for that, and basically I've built this whole page here for free, just with anti-gravity and my Google account. So I think this is pretty cool. And then the next step would be that you turn that into WordPress. My workflow here is that I first asked the AI to create a good mockup. So workflow is first either Gemini or Claude Opus, create a nice design, and then ask AI to implement it into WordPress plugin. So I'll show you the plugin that I'm working with. But yeah, on the workflow, it's really just about asking for a nice looking design first, and then asking that we want to implement this as a plugin inside of WordPress. I'll show you a couple of other examples. So I also have Cursor open here, which is another programming tool. Works very similar though. And I did some mockups complete. I think this is it. Some mockups for images. So you can see here, when we're creating WordPress websites, we do want our images to look nice, right? And you can see there's a nice hover effect. When I hover over this image, there's a drop shadow that comes out, and it's also some kind of zoom in effect. So this was created by AI as well. And then I'm asking the AI to implement this into my WordPress plugin. So here as well, really cool effect. You know, we want to make websites a bit interactive, and AI can really help us with that because it's so good at designing things. Here's a nice kind of border around the area. And I love this one. How cool is that? You can see here, Perth Golden Coast, and then you hover over it. It's like a postcard, and it's got something going on. And the fact that we can create all of this with AI now, I think is, yeah, just pretty exciting. And the app that I'm working on, let me go back to here. So what am I building really? I am building a WordPress auto article publisher, basically bulk publishing. So we are asking from ChatGPT to generate the article, and then once ChatGPT sends us the article, we also ask another AI to generate images. So we ask replicate AI to say generate images, and then we send all of that to our WordPress website and publish it. Publish on WordPress website in bulk. And yes, there's a lot of plugins that can already do this. So why are you building your own plugin? That's probably what you guys are wondering. And the answer is that the existing plugins just don't do exactly what I want. And I'll just show you what the limitations were. So this is here one of the articles that I've published recently. And one of my specifications was that I want to be able to control where the images are inserted. So right now you can see we've got one image directly after the first heading, which is cool. I'm happy with that. But I don't want this image to be here. I want to control where this image should go. I want to have this lower on, and I also want to be able to choose some styling. And so I've built that in WordPress, where we can have some settings over here. We can choose like what model we want to use to write our articles. And we can also have the prompt here to say, hey, what should the article be about? How should it be written? And then we can choose between different image styles. So we can say, hey, I want my images to look like this, or I want to have this kind of image. So you get the idea that basically we can customize a lot of things here. Let's see, this preview doesn't look like it's going to update. But let me refresh this. But yeah, that's the cool and exciting thing about this new AI technology, that we can now build our own software. So why do I need to pay somebody $600 per year for something that's not even what I want, right? It has some limitation that I don't want. And in the future, writing programming code will be so simple and cheap that everybody can do it. It's just about learning and giving it a try. Like it's not that hard to do it. And I'm showing you right now my process for it. By, for example, first using one AI to create the design and then giving that design to another AI to implement. So this was the version 1 of the blog article. Let me see if I got version 2 here that I can show you as well. Let's undo this. Okay. Perfect. This one here was the version 2 where I can now choose where the articles will be inserted. Okay, perfect, cool. So I have said to the AI, I want my image to be inserted before the third heading 2 tag. So this is like the third one inside of the whole article, and it's worked that it's put the image exactly where I want it. And then later, I guess I can also control the image alt tag and so on. This is still work in progress. But I think it's pretty cool that I've been able to build this in probably 5 or 6 hours. And it's got some pretty advanced functions already. And now I can keep building on it and make it exactly how I want it, and then use it either for my clients or for my own WordPress websites. So how does it work here for generating an article? We can put a topic here, best ice cream flavors. We could select a category, and we can also select the URL that we want it to be published under. So I often want to publish things under a folder, for example, beaches in this case, and then it will publish it exactly under that folder. This was not possible in other plugins, or it was a function that was broken in their plugin, which was also a reason why I wanted to build it. Then I can have a prompt for my featured image. I can say, man eating ice cream, and then I can have child eating ice cream, and then we can click generate article. Let me check. Yeah, no other settings. It's pretty simple. And we even have a nice progress bar here to see how long it might take. And while we wait, I'll show you again what's happening in the background. So we are asking ChatGPT to say, hey, help me to generate an article about ice cream. And we're asking Replicate AI to say, generate images about ice cream. And then we're going to publish everything to our WordPress website. Let's see. Cool, it's already done. So that was pretty quick. And we now have an image of a guy eating ice cream. And it's going to be in front of the third heading tag here on our site, which is exactly where we wanted it, at a child eating ice cream. What I would recommend is that you also find a way to overlay your business logo. So this will be probably the next feature that I will build, to basically teach Google and the users that this is a custom image that you have generated. And there are some really nice image models out there. For example, over, let me see here on Replicate, some image models that are quite nice. Dream, I think it's a Chinese model. Ooh. Oh, okay, cool. So let me go here. Dream. Lux. Anyways, you can get access to all the different models over here. And why Dream 4? Right, this is the model that I wanted to show you guys. So you can basically here, they've got a prompt, a photo of a store called Dream 4, a photo of a store called Ice Cream Shop. It sells ice cream. A poster in the window that says chocolate is the best. Is photo of a store. Let's make it near the beach, okay? And then we'll run it, and we can then see what the image will look like. So it's a nice way to test different image models. And we're doing a lot with images on WordPress, right? So awesome. I think this is insanely cool. Like, it's got exactly the text that we wanted. Chocolate is the best. It's got the text here, ice cream shop. And I mean, this is a bit fake. This is not looking too good, but the rest is like pretty epic. So you could do definitely some images to promote your business with Dream 4. And then have your business logo down here as well to tell Google basically this is a custom image that you have created. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now, and what I think is one of the most exciting things with WordPress, because you can build a plugin really quickly and replace some plugins that may not be working for you, or build a plugin for something that just hasn't been solved yet on WordPress. So yeah, opening up to any questions that you guys have about building plugins or building with AI. Have you guys tried it? I think for you, Duncan, one really interesting idea could be building a plugin that can create location pages for people as you do local websites, being able to have these location pages automatically created. I think that would be really cool. That's what I want to use it for as well. Where was this? Right, this one here. That's why I've created this template, because I first want to teach the AI what does a good location page look like, and then I will ask the AI, okay, now build a function to generate it inside of WordPress with the plugin, so that all of this is there already, like the contact form, the text, the design, the different boxes. And yeah, that would be awesome if we can basically do a web search to find information about this suburb and then create some unique text, as well as having like this nice design and doing all of that in an auto-generated way. I think that's the future of like local SEO as well. We don't build pages by hand anymore, but we still need like unique content so that text is not the same everywhere. Awesome, big meal, thank you. Yeah, I will be in Shenzhen in September again this year for the Shenzhen SEO conference. Shenzhen SEO conference in September 2026, yeah. About professional software interface. Yeah, you're right. So Hilia is saying it's hard to generate images about software interfaces, but I would say to that, you may be able to do it by providing an example image. So let's see, what software interface could we take as an example? Maybe we take this. This is one of my favorite analytics platforms. And we can ask two places. So the question here is how to create images about specific software, maybe something that AI has not seen that much, because AI knows what people on a beach look like, but it doesn't know what Umami software interface looks like. So how can we create images for that? So let's try that real quick with Nano Banana. Create image. Create an image of the Umami software interface that shows the user where to click to set up goals. Okay, so we're gonna try this. So we've uploaded our starter image and we're also asking it to do that. And then secondly, we'll also go to Whisk and we'll try the same thing. Whisk is Google's software for, let me see, it's probably not big enough. Software for image design, basically. And I quite like it. Software. So we're going to go to Whisk and we're going to upload our starting point image. So I think the point there is, I think it was Helen, right? That we do need like a starting point image. Because you're right, it doesn't know the software perfectly. But I think there are some image models where you can provide an image and then also provide text. So let's see if we can find our prompt here. So here, the first version didn't work that good. Let's see if we can get Google to use AI. So this is cool. Check this out. So it has created this overlay in Whisk. I like that. It says goals. Click here to set up goals. I mean, that's pretty cool. So yeah, if you can take one screenshot yourself, and then for the tutorial, maybe you need to click goals and then funnels and so on, maybe you need to provide like multiple screenshots. And then based on that, the AI could create that. So I think that's pretty epic that at least we got that. It's more fun than using Photoshop. Okay, here it was hallucinating. It pointed to the wrong location. Goals are on the left side, but it's pointing into the wrong spot. Okay, Google Banana has also pointed to the right spot, but probably Whisk is the winner here, looking better. Cool. Any other AI questions? See you then, Patrick. Some things. How to build a plugin. Right. How to build a plugin. Okay. I want to just know how many people are still here and who wants to learn exactly how to build a plugin from scratch, because it would get quite technical, and I just want to make sure that everybody here is up for it. So if you want to learn how to build a plugin, put 1. How to build plugin equals 1 in chat. If you want to talk more about other WordPress SEO problems, like we could talk about crawling, URL structure, duplicate content issues. That's probably a pretty big one. How to troubleshoot duplicate content. I often see lots of WordPress blogs with like 5 times the same article topic was written. So how to avoid that and troubleshoot that is something we can talk about. Yeah, let me know. Should we talk about plugins or what more WordPress SEO? 1, okay. Okay, 2 is WordPress SEO. Cool. I like to talk about plugins as well. So 2 from Scott, all right. Sounds good. 2, oh, it's gonna be close. 2, oh, so now we have 3 and 3. Who can beat it, guys? We need 1 more on either side. Anybody? Duncan, you're the decider. What do you want to learn about? Anybody else? SEO is a must. 2 and 1. Okay, 2. All right, cool. So let's talk. Okay, let's do this. We're going to talk really quick about plugins, and then we're going to talk more about WordPress. So how to build a plugin. The best way that I have found is this. So let me write down the steps for building plugins. Let's go up here. Here. So how to build a plugin in WordPress. Step 1, download cursor.sh, I think, or .cursor.com also works. So you're downloading this as a coding platform. Step 2, download documentation. So you're literally telling Cursor to download WordPress docs plus, let's say if you want to use ChatGPT API. And what this does, this step basically teaches the AI. So you first, before building, you are teaching, because the AI has learned stuff from 2024. In its mind, you are updating AI to 2025, because in 2024, it was ChatGPT 4 and 03 and all of these different things. It's a bit outdated. So that's why we're telling AI, hey, before you build anything, update your knowledge by getting the recent WordPress documentation and ChatGPT. And what that looks like is I've got a documents folder here, and like it's talking about the way how to use ChatGPT and so on. So we're basically updating the AI's knowledge first. And then once you've updated it, it depends what you're building, but let's say you're building a WordPress form plugin. example, WordPress form, I would download a plugin that you like and get their programming code. So what you can do is you simply go to plugins WordPress, and we want to steal their programming code, but we're not stealing, it's open source anyways. So these free plugins, I'm not saying take a paid plugin, so you're just getting a free plugin and you're typing in forms. And let's say you want to build something similar to WP forms, and you can download their form. Okay, and now we've downloaded that, and we're going to extract that into a folder. Okay, and then we go inside of the folder, and because you have already installed Cursor, you can right-click on your Windows, and you just say Open in Cursor. So I'll put that into the document. So basically then step 4, open in Cursor. So this will open up the programming code in Cursor, and we're basically going to say extract whatever they are doing and learn from it. So let me go back now here to WP Forms. So I'm right-clicking in here. I'm saying open in Cursor. And now I have this plugin which I want to copy or improve open in here. And now I'm going to say something like analyze how this plugin is doing things. And maybe you just want to build an extension to it. So there's two ways here now. You can extend plugin with your functions. Let's say you want to use the existing plugin. It's basically use existing. Or you can say build completely new. Maybe you want some completely new features. But yeah, I would now tell AI to analyze that. Your task is to analyze how this plugin was built. I want to build a similar WordPress plugin. So you should analyze the architecture and the programming methods that were used so that we can recreate this plugin easily. Create a super detailed report to brief a developer on the most important functions and features to make sure that he can rebuild that plugin in the same way. Provide detailed code examples and best practices and mistakes to avoid. Cool. So now we have like a really nice prompt that will analyze this existing plugin. So we don't want the programming code to start from scratch. We're basically analyzing a very successful plugin in the industry, and we're figuring out what are they doing in order to then get like a good outcome. And so the AI is now already organizing this, and it will create a report for me that tells me what they are doing well and what I can basically learn from them. So this is step 4, open Cursor. Step 5, learn from existing plugin. What are they doing well? What mistakes should we avoid? Right? Basically, because there's a reason why so many people, 6 million people are using this plugin. So clearly they must know something about programming a contact form plugin pretty well. So we can learn from them rather than completely start from scratch and make all the mistakes that we might make if we build it completely from scratch. So learn from the best is basically the idea here. Learn from the best. That is step number 5. Cool. Then once we've learned from the best, then step number 6 is write down what functions you want. I like to use a pretty specific prompt. So again, I would go to Claude and I would tell Claude that you are a programming expert. Expert to translate prompts. Why I'm doing that is because I want to be lazy and I want to basically give Claude a simple prompt, and then Claude improves my prompt. So You are a programming expert that turns my simple prompts into highly specific prompts that a WordPress developer can use and write high quality programming code based on my prompts. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just telling the AI that I will give it some simple prompts and it will improve it. So let's say I want to build a contact form that can sync up to Google Sheets. So every lead that I get should be sent to Google Sheets. I want to build a contact form plugin that can sync all the leads to Google Sheets automatically for WordPress. So I'm being purposely very vague here. I'm not giving it a lot of details, and I'm going to rely on this AI to improve my prompt, because if I just ask this from the AI, it will not be good. But you can see here, the AI is now giving very detailed instructions to the developers. Like if we want to integrate with Google Sheets, we need to have OAuth and so on. So we're creating a very detailed prompt on what our plugin needs to look like. And this way I can be lazy and just give it a very short prompt, and the AI will basically give me all the instructions. See, it's even telling the developer, you need to set up this, all these PHP functions we need to have. And I can then edit this later. Let's say this will not be my final version, but I would put this into a Google document and then go through it and say, no, actually, I think we don't need this thing. We don't need that. Maybe I don't want that function. And you basically change it so that you really have a good document for a developer to start developing and creating. So this would be step number 6. Create an AI to translate your vague idea into programming ready instructions. And then step number 7, improve the instructions further. Yeah, that's basically it. And then you will, once you're happy with your instructions, then you give it to the AI. So step number 8, give final instructions to AI to start building. And now you're already building a WordPress plugin. And I guess the very first thing before you do all of that would also be to, like, step 0, install WordPress, what was it called? Local? This one here, WordPress Studio. I don't know why they call it Studio, but this is the local development platform that's the best right now. Local development platform. So you don't need to mess with servers. Everything is on your own computer. That's what I like about local. Like on my D drive, I got WordPress here, and then I got 2 WordPress installations. So I can click in here, and then I go to the plugins folder, and here are my plugins. So you just click here, right click, open with cursor, and now you're directly editing the plugin, and all the changes will be reflected directly in WordPress over here. So that's a really good way to work with WordPress. Cool. That's pretty much how to do plugin development. Any questions on that? I'll share that screenshot also in the group. Yomeo Venti. Let's see. Yep, no problems. I can share that workflow later. And I think there's also a recording from this. But yeah, that's pretty much what we would do. And I can show you that report that AI has created as well, based on the best plugin. Let's see where that report ended up. Here. So here's the report, and we can read what this plugin is doing well. It's analyzed how the structure works of WP forms, and yeah, basically gives instructions to the developer how we could build a good contact form plugin. So that's the beauty of WordPress. You can just build your own contact form plugin based on what other people have done. And you can probably build it a lot simpler as well, because a lot of the plugins just have too much bloat. All right, cool. How to test the plugin. Whoops. Cool. So there may be some bugs for the, yeah, I mean, there's always some bugs, right? And when there are bugs, I recommend using a smarter model to troubleshoot the bugs and also go back to the documentation. Here we go. So let's see. What if there are bugs in AI code? What you can do is use a smarter model. Usually I would recommend, right now, Opus 4.5 is pretty good to troubleshoot. For general programming, you can use Composer 1 from Cursor. It's very fast, but it makes mistakes. Yeah, that's basically all I can say. It does help if you can learn a little bit of development. Right now, yes, the model still makes some mistakes. So knowing like a little bit development and what to do, where to point the AI can definitely be helpful. But even if you don't know development, you will find a process that works for you to fix the bugs. So either by asking a different model, downloading documentation is always good. Downloading docs like from WordPress or looking at other working plugins. How did they do X thing? The thing that you're trying to build, which is broken, you just look at other plugins, how they've implemented it, and then you're asking a smart model, compare how we've done it compared to how they've done it, and that should be able to fix a lot of bugs. But yes, you will run into bugs, just don't be scared of them. It's like when you're running a business, you're going to make mistakes, right? It's the same with coding with AI. Even coding without AI, there will always be bugs. So yeah, any code will always have bugs. I think that's the main takeaway. How to test the plugin you use AI? Should we need staging? Yeah, I recommend the local version of, so this is what I was showing here, WP Studio. And you can then create, you click add site, create, and you're creating a completely new WordPress site, and you can also tell where it should go. So I'll create one on my D drive in WordPress. Testing, plugins testing. So I'm giving it a name. The directory is empty. Okay, I need another folder here, maybe. Select that folder. Okay, so we can even select the PHP version. And yeah, just click add site. And it's now creating a new site on my local computer. And this tool does not need to have any servers running on your local PC, which most of the local development platforms for WordPress, they need a server running. And that's a real headache to try to configure the server. But they have been able to avoid that with WP Studio. Awesome. And then we can click admin. And now we are going to be in our new WordPress website that we've just freshly set up. So here we go. This is our brand new WordPress website that we can test inside of. So that was a question from Helia, how to test the plugins, and the local staging is the best solution. Should we start from scratch, or we can download an existing plugin package and modify it? Yeah, so I would recommend start with an existing one and then basically modify it, but avoid huge code bases. So the problem with AI coding, so basically the question here was build WP plugin, start scratch, or download existing. Either way, I would recommend to download an existing one. But then the question is if you want to use that code base or if you want to just take examples. So option A, just take examples, or option B, use their full code base. The problem with using a full code base is that it's probably too big and AI can't understand it. Too big, AI can't understand. large code bases. For example, I analyzed a plugin that had 500,000 lines of code. Like that's 500,000, and AI definitely can't understand all of that. And then I basically just extract examples, and rebuilt. And now my plugin is 2,000 lines of code. So you can see when you rebuild, you can build it much smaller because you don't need to think about 100 different users who want 100 different features. You just think about your own features. And that's how I was able to basically build it in a way that my plugin has 2,000 lines of code and theirs has 500,000. So don't start with a code base that is so big with so many lines of code, because AI would totally confused what to do. Yeah, it's a waste of time trying to do that. So in that case, you just need to extract the examples from these 5,000 lines of code and then build your own plugin. That's basically the idea. But there may be some plugins on WordPress that are also small. So if the plugin is small enough, you can still use it and work with it. Yep. Okay, how to debug plugin. Awesome. Yeah, how to debug, I think we've discussed a little bit on what to do there. So if there are bugs, you use a smarter and more expensive model, such as Opus 4.5. You download the documentation from WordPress and you tell it, hey, read the documentation, see if you implemented it correctly and make a plan to fix. So basically, one trick is do not ask directly to fix bug. Ask smarter AI, analyze my code base, create a report on and then keyword is root causes. So you don't want the symptoms, you need to find the root cause problem and how we can fix them. So you basically have one AI that creates the report for you. And then you ask the AI in the second step, implement the report. And that's been really successful for me to basically create a report and then implement that report. Whereas if you ask the AI to immediately fix it, it may not find all the problems and just create more issues as it happens. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that is probably all the time we have for vibe coding, as we may want to chat a bit more about WordPress, and it looks like we're close to running out of time. But yeah, feel free to put any questions further into chat about vibe coding or AI coding or building WordPress plugins. Let me see which one of these are the most interesting topics. I probably just show you a couple of the interesting and important settings that I use inside of my favorite SEO plugin in WordPress, which also has a really good free version. So this one is called SEO Press. It has about 300,000 users, much less than Rank Math and the other ones. But I've been using it for over 5 years, and it's super solid. So I will go through the different settings here first that I recommend. In particular, under Advanced, you've got some really nice settings where you can make sure that the image alt tag and the image title is automatically set. So here you can say, when I'm uploading a file, image file, automatically set the title based on the file name. And you may be able to find other WordPress plugins that have that same feature, but this is a really nice feature to be able to set the image alt tag based on the file name, because whenever you're uploading any file, it should have a semantically relevant and good file name anyways. So for example, file name should be something like, let's say you are a plumber in Sydney .jpeg, right? That would be a good file name. Bad file name would be .jpeg. So try to, as much as possible, use keywords, but don't spam the keywords in your file names, because then the file names can become the image alt tag. And this is something that Google uses for ranking websites and understanding what your images are about. So file names are still a really good idea to use. Usually I just use dashes in between. So this would be one example of a decent file name. Other ones could be plumbing services, or let's say you have leaking pipe repair. You kind of get the idea. We don't always just use same keyword, but use semantically related keywords and make sure it's ideally also relevant to the image. So when you upload this, this becomes your image file name. And it's a really handy setting to have, because then you never need to worry about doing image alt tags manually, because they are automatically sorted out and will be correct for you. Then some things that people are not aware of is that WordPress websites by default have a kind of feed behind the URL. Let me see if I can show this on the local website even. So if we, at the end of any WordPress website, we type in feed, we can see that this comes up. So this is not great for Google, because Google may think this is an indexable page, and this is a really good one to disable. There are a few tools that can do this. So the one I recommend is, again, SEO Press. SEO Press, that's my go-to plugin. There's also Perf Matters for Performance Matters. Both of these can disable the feed, which you should not need in WordPress, and it's just having less URLs. Cool, let me get back to the chat so we can answer a couple more questions. Big question, doing SEO. Duncan Gu, right. We'll get back to the general question, how to improve rankings in WordPress. How about multiple language pages? Any method without plugin? No, there's no method without plugin, but I can give you a really good plugin, and then you can code your own if you want to save some money. So basically, multi-language pages, I really like Translate Press. That's a really good for multi-language. I used this many times, and we always were able to increase the traffic after using this. So always increased traffic after using this. So this is pretty nice. And then we've combined that with, what's a tool called? The translation API from DeepL is what we used with that. So that's pretty good for translations. And if you don't want to pay them, then you just ask AI, build me a free version of this, or find a way to download it elsewhere. But yeah, that's a really good plugin. I wouldn't use anything else really for WordPress translations. It's just going to be too much headache, because there's a million things you need to do with that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I noticed a couple of questions on how to rank a WordPress website. Language limits for DeepL. I mean, there's no multi-language limit. You can translate as many languages as you want. You just have to pay for the credits. So not limited to X amount of languages. You basically just pay for credits. So if you want to have 20 languages, you can have that, but you also need to pay 20 times for translation credits. And if you, let's say your website has 5 pages, it's like very cheap to translate. If your website has 1,000 pages, then it's very expensive to translate. like for 1,000 pages, you're probably looking at probably $100 per language. And so that's probably why you won't want to do 20 languages, because it's 20 times 100 USD per language. And so you would just focus on the top 3 or 4 languages that you really want. I recommend just start with 2 languages first, which also gives Google some time to find your website and rank it. So yeah, give Google some time to rank new languages. I would not do like 10 languages all at once right away. All right, so when it comes to generally how to rank a WordPress website, the most important starting point, and something you may find funny, is to make sure that the no index is not on. This has happened a lot of times to a lot of people, which again is why I like SEO Press, because if I put no index on, I'm telling search engines nobody should show my index in any search engine, not in Google, not in Bing. I don't want to be shown anywhere. And if you install SEO Press, it will show you this big red bar, whereas by default, this is not shown. And you can set this here under reading in WordPress. Here, it's this discourage search engines. Once we turn that off, the red notice will disappear. So this is a really good first step to ranking in Google, to make sure you can actually be indexed. But jokes aside, indexing in general, basically how many of your pages are showing in search results, that's a really good thing to troubleshoot first. And you can check that inside of GSC, GSC pages report. You can have a look at that and to see if you've got any problems inside of GSC. So let me bring this up. So it's this pages report here that we want to go for. And you want to then check only the pages that are already submitted in sitemaps. I have 50 in my sitemaps, and I've got 6 that are not indexed. So I now want to see why these are not indexed. They are in discovered, but not indexed. That means Google has not visited them. They're not crawled. Crawled means Google visited them, but they're just discovered. Google knows about them. And apparently I've got a contact us page that Google has not indexed. That's kind of crazy. I haven't seen that in a while. So it's good that I'm taking my own advice. I haven't worked on this website for a long time. So yes, making sure that your pages are indexed is a really good idea. I would then try to improve the content on here, add a bit more text, probably change the image, change the title, maybe add a few more internal links. So it's quite strange that the contact us page is not indexed. So this is not really healthy. All of the important pages on a site should be indexed, like let's say your about us page, contact us page, location pages, and so on. So that's definitely something I would look into. We can then use the inspection to also see what Google sees. So this goes a little bit into technical SEO. We can test that live URL and see what is it that Google sees when they visit the page. And this is usually where we start when it comes to ranking. But when it comes to Chinese websites, oftentimes we are trying to rank, let's say you are a Chinese business owner and you're trying to rank in America, but nobody knows you in America. So basically in America, you don't have a strong brand. There are no brand searches. And that's a problem because Google wants to rank brands that have loyal customers. And so if nobody knows you in America, that's a problem. So you need to also find other ways outside of Google to actually build a brand, because if you don't have a brand, Google is not the way to get traffic, because again, Google wants to rank popular brands, So try other methods, let's say TikTok ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn posts, anything to get traffic and eyeballs on your brand. So generate brand searches, get people interested in your brand, because Google is monitoring. Google monitors both the brand searches that happen in Google search, but also the traffic signals from Chrome browser. So inside of the court cases, it was shown that whenever we go to any website, Google will know about it. And basically, let's say news.com.au, basically through what's happening inside of our browser, in the network tab, Google can clearly see how long we've stayed on the website, what we've clicked on, and all the different things. You can see I've clicked on a different site, and it's now sent all of this traffic to Google, telling them exactly what I've viewed, how long I've viewed it, what I've looked at, even where my mouse is. That's why Google is giving us Chrome browser, because they're monitoring everything that we're doing. And if you have no customers in America, Google knows that you're not a very popular brand, because nobody is searching for you, nobody's on your website, nobody's on your social media. So Google has got no reason to rank you, because there's 1,000 other American brands that they can rank who already have customers. And it's just too risky for Google to rank a brand that nobody trusts in America, because it could be just a scam. And now Google was used to send traffic to a scam website. And that's basically the reason why you need to seem like a very legitimate brand. And brand searches is one thing, but also doing business directories is a good starting point. Having consistent, we call it NAP, name, address, phone number. So when you're searching for your own brand name, does it come up consistently always the same? So for this brand, absolute mode removal. Let's have a look here. So that's what we want to see, basically, that the brand name is being mentioned consistently and spelled correctly. So here it's absolute mode removal. And then we want to check on all the other places where we are being mentioned. We have a mention here in Yellow Pages, really important directory, also same spelling, and make sure everything matches up so that Google can really understand that you are a trusted brand. Looks like we even have this branded panel here, the knowledge graph, which is really cool. Once Google trusts your brand a lot, it will create this knowledge graph for you, which is good. And you can note even what's part of that. You can see here the logo is part of that as well. And so, yeah, it's basically a trust building exercise. And it used to be just the simple ranking factors like backlinks being important. But these days, the traffic is actually, in my view, one of the most important ranking factors. That's why I'm mentioning it here. These traffic signals that coming from the websites. That's why you want to do also other things like Facebook ads, even on a low cost, because it at least sends some traffic signals to Google. So get some traffic signals, which shows Google you are popular. Yeah, and even if you are a Chinese brand, you can still get an American address. That's a whole another topic, but basically, in short, you can just do USA business directory listings and choose any address plus a USA phone number. There's a good service called My Second Line, which gets you a USA phone number and forwards it to your Chinese phone. So this can be a good option if you're like an international business. I'm sure the same also exists for Europe, so that you can have a local European phone number and forward the phone calls to your Chinese phone and also get an address. We've had a recent situation where we had a client, and the client sells filters, and they are in China, but they want to target Dubai. And they actually have an office in Dubai, but they did not have the address on the website. So no address on the website. And then we added the Dubai office address, and rankings improved immediately in Dubai. And that's because Google wants to rank local businesses. As soon as you're telling Google, hey, I do have an office there, Google goes like, okay, cool. Now let's rank you inside of that location. But if Google doesn't know anything about your brand, it's got no reason to rank you in the US, for example, if you're a Chinese brand. So you need to seem to Google as local as possible so that they know in which language and what country to rank you in. And the same kind of works with software. If we search for something like AI humanizer, we can see that a lot of the people who are ranking for these kind of keywords have just set up an exact match brand name. So AI humanize, and so they've just set up exact match brand names, which basically tells Google that, hey, people might be looking for this exact brand, so let's rank them in the top spots. And this strategy also still works really well. That's the exact match domain strategy. So they never died. They never died. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think we've gone a little bit over time already, but I will still take time to answer some of the last questions here. Let me see to bring up the chat again. Yes, you need to have a strong entity in the target market. That's right, Helia. Okay. Copyright information needed for image SEO from Google. No, you don't need copyright when it comes to image SEO. Like ideally, you should own the copyright to images yourself. But if you're generating AI images, you shouldn't need to worry about copyright. From daily routine, would you pay monthly AI coding tools? $20 is not enough. And also aside from the cursor, other tools. Yeah, so I'm paying for all of the coding tools. I do recommend, basically the question is, should I pay for coding tools like cursor? I would say yes, it's a good idea to pay for them. Because think about how much does it cost to hire a good developer? Like if you want to hire a good developer for a whole month, you're probably looking at probably 2,000 USD if he's in India, and it's pretty hard to find good developers there. Maybe 4,000, even 5,000 USD if in USA. So my point is the $20 that we pay for these softwares, yes, you might need to upgrade to even $60, but when it comes to the cost that developers cost and what these tools can do, I think it's absolutely worth it to have like even multiple subscriptions. So I've got one account where I pay $20, another where I pay $60. Then I've got 3 times Google accounts. And in Google accounts, you can use anti-gravity. This is this coding tool over here, very similar to Cursor, and they are improving this as well. So I've already found this being better. And you know, how long would it take a developer to build, for example, this local landing page that I've shown before, which I thought was looking quite nice. So yeah, I think it's a really good deal, and the cost always goes down right now. So that's the trend, that we can get more programming code for less money. That's basically what's happening right now. More code for less money. So it's a good time to get started with this because it will continue and go on. The code will get better and cheaper, right? So it's important you get started with this now, so that once it's super cheap and once it's super accurate, you already know how to use all of the tools, and you're in a good position to build your own WordPress plugins, solve your own business problems, do anything that you need to do with programming code, because the future is personalized software. personalized software that you build yourself. And so that's why I think it's so cool if we can get started with that now, whether it's for $20 or $60. I think any amount around that is totally worth it to just get a start experimenting and coding with it. And yeah, then you will be in a great spot 2 to 3 years later, once these tools are super cheap and super strong. Then you're in a very good position to build anything that you need for your business. Okay, checking the questions. Any plugin to clear useless container like Elementor? No, nothing I know about how to clear Elementor. I would also love that. Actually, it's a nice business opportunity. Maybe we need to code this, how to clean Elementor. Good question, though. Is it necessary to update articles? Yes, it is important to update articles often. Let me put this also into our questions here. So yes, of course you want to aim for real improvements. Google loves fresh articles. It's a quality signal basically to show Google that you're removing bad articles from your website and improving popular articles. That's what I would recommend. If you've got some old articles that were not good quality anyways, just remove them if they were not successful and the topic is not that important. And then improve the articles that are popular. Before you remove them, check if you had any backlinks, but yeah, that would be my idea. User interaction, get local NAP, yep. Okay, cool. Well, I think when it comes to debugging, I think you can become the expert yourself. I do think it's possible that AI is becoming so good now that you can do the debugging. All right, thanks for the feedback, Patrick. Glad that you found it helpful. And yeah, thanks so much for all your attention, guys, and some great questions. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully see you guys in Shenzhen in September. When we get a report from PageSpeed Insight, is it good to use AI to build a performance plugin? No, I think performance plugins are already out there and are free. So I don't think you need to build your own performance plugin. I would recommend starting with what we talked about in the speed section. I'll bring that up and I will share this whole document as well. It's a little bit messy, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out. So this is what we talked about in the speed section. I would go through this process. First, figure out if your server is fast enough, figure out what your TTFB is by using this tester, and then check if you can improve your server and TTFB first. And then you can go with combining JavaScript and CSS, PHP versions, and so on. But I wouldn't build a plugin for that just because there's so many out there already and they're mostly free. So I don't think you need a plugin for that. Awesome. Then I wish you guys all a really good night and a nice rest of your weekend. Bye for now, everybody. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye-bye. Duncan might want to say another word. I've unmuted him. Stopping to share my screen here.
Okay. Thank you, Mark, for the really informative speech. So I'll just speak Mandarin with them. 今天呢，差不多，今天他分享的很多都是很专业的一些东西，所以说呢，我觉得大家从这里面呢学到了很多。 然后是有什么需要提问的，或者是Mark 呢他自己有一个公司，然后他的公司呢大部分情况下在经营一些比较专业的，然后 SEO 的一些业务，所以说如果是有需要他这种专业服务的，然后是可以随时联系他，然后他在我们群里，他在我们群里有微信号，然后一般的小的这种 SEO 其实就没必要联系他了，因为他做的比较专业，所以说他的收费呢可能就会比较贵一点。呃，像你们有一些大公司的话，就可以找他帮你们把 SEO 做得更完善一些。今天呢基本上就到这了，然后thank you Mark for the speech. Really
Thanks, guys.
really nice. Thank you.
Good stuff. You're
Okay.
welcome.
And also, can you forward the video record for me?
Yes, absolutely. I'll forward the recording to you as well.
Okay. No worries. Thank you.
Will do. You're welcome. Have a good
Okay.
night, everybody.
Yeah.
大家好，晚上好，
晚安，晚安，大家晚安了。
大家晚，拜拜。
OK，结束了。
See you.